The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been accused of making a spiteful dig at the Queen after they suggested that although they will respect her wishes to drop royal from their brand, they would be within their rights to use the word abroad. In response to this latest development, Prince Harry's biographer, Angela Levin, asked, what on earth has happened to the old Harry? So, do you think that we've lost the old Harry that we think we knew?
So I think that's the real question. Did we even know Harry? Like, everyone makes this assumption, this is how Harry is, but we really don't know the deep layers of him, like you don't know anybody. So I think it's a bit condescending to ask, you know, have we lost the real Harry? Who is the real Harry? I would like to actually say to Harry, let me interview you, let me ask you simple questions like what the hell is going on, and let him voice his opinion on how he feels and what he's going through, so that we can just get over this and stop putting him in the papers and having the same conversation.
I think a lot of people have tried to ask him that. He's just, you know,
He needs someone down to earth, someone that would be like, Harry, wagwan, listen, you know. Do you know what I mean? He just needs that kind of vibe. I'd cook him some curry goat and rice and just chill out.
I mean, they've employed a big showbiz publicist, so obviously they do want to be in the papers or in the media, I don't know. But, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel with this, maybe it's Harry's mum, Diana, always used to talk about the grey men of the palace. And for sure, you know, there are people who work in the palace and they've worked there for years and they do things a certain way and they're always kind of briefing behind the scenes. And I think this statement's probably aimed more at them from Harry than it is actually at his grandmother, because I think he adores his grandmother. And I think people have kind of made that leap that it's very critical of the Queen per se, but it isn't really. It's about the monarchy and the crown. And, you know, if they were Joe Schmo from Kokomo and they started up the Royal Burger van...
Joe Schmo from Kokomo?
Well, you know, if they were like any old person and they started up Royal Burgers in America, the Queen wouldn't say a word. But they're not. You know, he is royal, Prince Harry, and... So, therefore, the connotation of the word royal when they move away to America with it is something that the Crown has to look at, because if it gets involved in that title in commercial activities that might jump up and kind of damage the Crown, then I understand why it has to change.
I think what's interesting is, obviously, all over the papers all over the weekend were talking about this and their sort of breaking down of what this statement meant. And I think what we have to remember is this is the press's interpretation of what they think Harry and Meghan mean by this. And I didn't take it that way at all. I took it as they were explaining that, look, we are choosing not to use the word royal because in other instances precedents have been set and that other people have used it just to stop other people asking the question, well, surely so-and-so did. They're just putting it out there. Look, we could if we want to, but we've decided not to. That I didn't see it as petulant. It was really fascinating to read so many different opinions saying that it was petulant. And again, Angela Levin was really, really strong on this, saying, you know, that they sounded sullen and resentful, a petulant retort from self-important young people who've grown too used to having their own way.
I think it was the bit where they said something like, the Queen can't stop somebody using the word royal outside of... I think it was that nugget. Tiny little particular bit.
Saying, you know, where has Harry gone? Where's our Harry gone? And all of that. And I know what you're saying. We don't really know the real Harry. But the impression I've always had of Harry is he's always been the rebellious royal. You know, he's never done things by the book. From a very young age, you know, we always saw the pictures of Harry out, you know, drinking with the lads, or Harry seeing this girl or that girl. Now he's met someone that he's fallen passionately in love with, by the sounds of it, who's equally a very strong woman. And I think there's I think we're all... When you fall in love with someone, there is always a little bit of you. It shouldn't be fully, but there's always a little bit of you that changes. And he's probably terrified he's going to lose her with all of this, so he's trying to make her happy. And I just think he's just someone madly in love. And some people do become... You know, one of my sisters, when she fell in love, we would go, where's she gone? Because she would turn into the person that she was seeing. Like, all of a sudden, she'd like everything they liked, that we knew that...
Don't we
before
all
she ma-
do that?
You do it
I
to a
pretended
certain
to like
extent.
football.
Some
I
people-
hate football.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of
yeah.
stuff.
No, I think you're right. He's absolutely in love. And the thing about Harry is, you know, they always say it's a bit of a cruel phrase, but they say the heir and the spare. And it's very difficult being the spare because it's like, what is your role going forward? And, you know, people who have kind of known him for a long time have said he's always kind of slightly had that feeling of, oh, I would really just... What he really wanted to do was move to Africa and kind of just live on a big ranch and, you know, and hang out with animals and just have that really kind of quiet life. And I understand that. But for me, I think where the difficulty is going to come is that all that's great and I have no problem with him going, but he's now gone into the world of showbiz. And I think the disconnect is where showbiz meets the old way that the royal family does things. And that's where you get the friction. And a friend of mine who is American, who moved here about 15 years ago, she said, it took me 10 years to understand the British public's relationship with the royal family because the Americans don't really get that kind of institution.
It's unique, yeah.
So I think when you've got a US publicist who's going, hey, I know how to handle this. I'm just going to put out this statement about, you know, and of course the Buckingham Palace are just going to go, no, you're not. We're going to have our say. And I think that's the situation we're in.
Do you think the sort of problems that they've had are less to do with the fact that obviously Meghan's a commoner, as we would call it
Aren't we
over here?
all?
But exactly. But more to do with the fact that she does come from, as you say, a sort of showbiz background. Do you think that's where the friction lies?
I think it's when you have a way of doing things in the world of showbiz, it doesn't fit in with the way of the royal family. And Harry now, I mean, I think you could look at it some ways that members of the royal family have been becoming celebrities for quite some time. And I think they are making more of a step into that.
I think, look, if you look at the pattern of behaviour, Harry has shown other forms of him rebelling from a young age. So there's other underlying things that he might have been going through. And yes, they are constantly in the papers. And I think it's about her being someone from entertainment and being a mixed race woman and being someone who was married before. So there's so much different things, layers from people who's watching their emotion of things that they've been through and the media sometimes putting things in the wrong aspect.
Yeah, and making their own mind up and talking about it, and therefore it becomes fact.